hands. I got hands. I got hands. Hey guys. We're done. He's being placed under arrest right now. You got any guns on you, anything like that?
Call anybody else in the house. No one. Where's your phone at?
Welcome back, faithful viewers. Today we're bringing you updates on two big cases, Robert Morris and Tom Kesey, both finally out in the open after being hidden for so long. Stay tuned and chill as we dive in. Robert Morris used to be the senior pastor at Gateway Church, a big church in the U.S. But in 2024, he stepped down from that job after some serious news came out about something bad he did a long time ago, in 1982, when he was traveling as a preacher in Oklahoma. A girl said he hurt her back then, and this led to a grand jury charging him with 5 serious crimes earlier this year. Now Morris is expected to go to trial, which means he'll have to defend himself in court. Because of all this, Gateway Church is refusing to give Morris the millions of dollars he asked for in retirement benefits. He wants the church to pay him a huge amount of money every year, even after he stops working. Morris says there was a deal in 2014 that promised him about $1 million when he retired and $800,000 every year until he turned 70. After that, the church would pay him $600,000 a year, and after he dies, his wife would keep getting that amount. But the church says there's no written proof of any of these promises, and they don't want to pay him. Morris also wants to settle this money fight through something called binding arbitration. That means instead of going to a public court where everyone hears the details, a private person called an arbitrator would decide the case quietly. Morris probably wants this because he's already in serious trouble and doesn't want more bad publicity. The church disagrees and wants a regular court to decide. It's pretty sad that instead of focusing on helping people and leading the church, Morris and Gateway Church are now fighting over money in court. This kind of fight hurts the church's reputation and makes people lose trust. Also, while all this is happening, Morris has been living a rich lifestyle. From 2012 to 2024, he bought and sold several very expensive homes in Texas, some worth around $8 million each. That's a lot of money, especially compared to what many church members give in donations, hoping their money will help others or support good causes. Some people wonder if pastors like Morris care more about money and luxury than about serving their community and living humbly. The church leaders say Morris hasn't been honest and want him to show real regret for what he did to that girl years ago. They want him to admit the truth publicly. All this makes us think about what it really means to be a pastor. It's a job that should be about faith, helping others, and being a good example. When things like this happen, it makes people question the whole system and lose faith in their leaders. So yeah, it's a tough situation. We see a pastor with lots of money and serious accusations from the past. The church is trying to protect its name, and the whole thing is making headlines for all the wrong reasons. It reminds us that honesty and humility are really important, especially for people in positions of trust. If you think about it, there's an old saying, no matter how much someone tries to hide their bad actions, the truth always comes out eventually.
The reason why this is so close to my heart is this is what I see in ministry so very often, in scandal. People who rush to do crisis control instead of open repentance before God. When people who are in scandal and sin and secret hire companies, secular companies, to come in and do damage control for their ministry, write scripts to be read, stare blankly at a teleprompter without emotion, without tear, without acknowledgement, and explain away the injustice. Try to lighten the load of sin and perversion and sexual sin and whatever it might be. Pay attention to me. You need people that know how to get on their face before God. Only God can do damage control. If you get out in front of your sin and you think you're going to create a strategy of damage control, you've already sealed the path of judgment and you're escalating the path and it's coming quicker than you think. What you really ought to do is run by the teleprompter and find an old-fashioned altar and get in a private place instead of a public place and say, I have sinned.
This situation reminds us that those in leadership, especially preachers, need to live with honesty and integrity because the truth will always catch up. And it's also important to talk about how some preachers amass great wealth while encouraging their members to buy books, pay tithes, and give generously with the promise that they too will become rich. But more often than not, the one holding the microphone is the one who ends up getting rich while many followers struggle. At the end of the day, ministry should be about serving people, not serving personal wealth. When leaders forget that, it hurts the whole community. Thanks so much for watching and taking the time to listen. Stay thoughtful and keep asking the hard questions. This is actually small compared to the Tom Kesey abuse scandal. You definitely won't want to miss what's coming next.
It's in your pocket. Okay. All right, Tom, you can come with me. Just stand down. Okay. We got Mark Carr. Rolling up now.
The arrest video of Tom Kesey has just been leaked online, and it's making waves across social media. Dash cam footage from the police shows the jaw-dropping moment when officers stormed his home in Johnstown, guns drawn. It's a scene you wouldn't expect to see, especially involving the son of a well-known televangelist family. Meanwhile, his parents, Gary and Drenda Kesey, who have been a fixture on Daystar TV for years, are still in denial, claiming there are two sides to the story. But here's where it gets even more disturbing. Despite 3 victims and 40 witnesses stepping forward, they refuse to acknowledge the truth. Now, it's not just the arrest footage that's sending shockwaves. Court documents are revealing some truly horrifying details. The victims were as young as 5 years old, and all of them were members of Faith Life Church. These new revelations are game-changing for the case, and I have exclusive details that mainstream media isn't covering. Welcome back, faithful viewers. Let's dive into what's really going on with the Tom Kesey case, because there's been a major shift that we need to talk about. The arrest footage is just the beginning. We now have disturbing new information about the victims, the timeline of the alleged abuse, and the troubling reaction from Gary and Drenda Kesey, which raises serious questions about their role in this whole situation. Let's break it down step by step, starting with what everyone is talking about, the arrest video. The footage taken from a police dash cam shows Tom Kesey being arrested on April 18th at his home in Johnstown. You can see multiple police vehicles, their blue lights flashing, surrounding the house. According to reports, there was a huge law enforcement presence, and officers mentioned they found a revolver during the arrest. Despite the intimidating show of force, Kesey reportedly surrendered without any resistance. Why was the police response so intense? It's clear that authorities were treating this as a high-risk operation. The serious nature of the charges, and possibly concerns about how Kesey might react, likely led to the massive show of force. What's crucial here is that this footage is not just a news story or a legal filing. It's real, tangible proof of the consequences of these allegations. And it gets even more significant when you think about the fact that Tom Kesey isn't just any ordinary person. He's the son of Gary and Drenda Kesey, 2 of the most well-known figures in the prosperity gospel movement in the U.S. They've been preaching their message of wealth and success on Daystar TV for years. So the arrest of their son is a huge deal, not just in the Kesey family, but for the wider religious community. But here's where things start to take a darker turn. As more details emerge about the victims, it becomes clear that this case is far worse than anyone initially thought. Court documents now reveal that the victims were incredibly young, some as young as 5 years old, and all of them were members of Faith Life Church, the very church run by the Keseys. This is a new piece of information that changes everything about this case. What's even more troubling is the response from Tom Kesey's parents. Instead of taking accountability or acknowledging the severity of the situation, Gary and Drenda Kesey have refused to accept the reality of what's happening. Despite the fact that 3 victims and 40 witnesses have come forward with their stories, they're still clinging to the idea that there are 2 sides to this. They're claiming that Tom's arrest is part of a bigger misunderstanding, even though the evidence continues to mount against him. So let's break it all down. We've got the arrest video, the court documents revealing the ages of the victims, and the bizarre refusal from Gary and Drenda Kesey to confront the truth. These new developments leave us with more questions than answers. Why are the Keseys continuing to deny what's happening? What does this mean for their role in the church and for the future of Faith Life Church? This case has become far more than just a family drama or a legal issue. It's now a story that speaks to larger questions about accountability, transparency, and the role of powerful religious figures in our society. We've seen similar stories unfold in the past, but this one feels different. With so many victims and so many witnesses, it's hard to ignore the gravity of the situation, and yet the Keseys are still refusing to accept the reality of what's going on.
Sheriff's office, did you hear? Announce yourself!
Hey, back here, where is it?
Sheriff's office, go to the door! Come here! Come here! Come here!
Hey, I got hands if you want to pass him back. I got hands. I got hands. I got hands. I got hands. Hey, guys.
We're done. He's being placed under arrest right now. You got any guns on you, anything like that?
Tom's anybody else in the house? No one? Where's your phone at? It's in your pocket? Okay. Alright, Tom, you can come with me.
Okay.
We got Mark Carr.
Rolling up
That's
now.
rolling up now.
Taking shoes, maybe, or something.
You got, stand by. You got flip-flops?
You got flip flops or something?
Yeah.
Where would flip-flops or something be for you? Or just some shoes? Alright. Hey, Bobo, we need to clear it and grab him some shoes.
Well,
Alright, we're going to take that car. We'll get you some shoes. We can walk in grass over there. I'm Captain Moore with the Sheriff's Office. I've been one of them that's been part of the investigation.
okay.
Alright. You're being arrested right now. We have 2 F1 warrants for...
This case surrounding Tom Kesey has been evolving in ways that are deeply disturbing. Tom, the son of prominent televangelists Gary and Drenda Kesey, faces a staggering 27 criminal charges, including 11 counts of first-degree rape, 11 counts of gross SA, and 5 counts of unlawful SA with a young one. The indictment follows a Knox County grand jury investigation, and it's taken a heavy toll on his family's reputation and the larger Faith Life Church community. As more details unfold, the case has become a lightning rod for both public outrage and deep reflection on accountability within religious organizations. Court documents and newly released evidence provide chilling insight into the scope of the allegations. 3 victims, all of whom were under the age of 13 when the abuse began, are central to the charges. These victims, all members of Faith Life Church, paint a harrowing picture of systematic abuse that took place over several years. The first victim, who was reportedly 5 to 6 years old at the time, endured assault approximately 50 times between 2001 and 2003. The second victim alleges over 100 incidents, beginning at the age of 8 and continuing until she was 15. The third victim reported incidents of abuse when she was 10 to 11 years old. The facts surrounding these victims are compounded by disturbing revelations about their connection to the church. Special Prosecutor Jenny Wells confirmed that all 3 victims knew each other within the Faith Life Church community. This detail suggests that there may have been a troubling pattern of targeting vulnerable children connected to the church. The abuse allegations and subsequent investigation have expanded far beyond the immediate area, with law enforcement agents traveling across multiple states to interview roughly 40 witnesses. While the crimes did not occur on church property and all incidents predate 2012, the connection to Faith Life Church remains undeniable, as all victims were members of the congregation at the time of the abuse. One of the most complicated aspects of the case is the age of Tom Kesey during some of the alleged incidents. He was between 12 and 14 years old when the first reports of abuse surfaced. This fact introduces an added layer of complexity to the charges, as some of the offenses occurred while he was still a minor. However, many of the counts are tied to incidents that took place after he turned 18, making it even more challenging to navigate from a legal standpoint. Regardless of this complication, the seriousness of the allegations cannot be understated. Some of the charges carry mandatory sentences of 10 years to life if Kesey is convicted. Tom Kesey remains in custody with a bond set at a staggering $2 million. His defense attorney, Samuel Szymanski, has stated that Kesey intends to plead not guilty to all charges. Szymanski has made it clear that the defense will challenge the evidence presented against Kesey directly. The case is already proving to be a complex one, spanning nearly a decade of alleged incidents, and involving both incidents during Kesey's youth and as an adult. Additionally, much of the testimony concerns events that occurred up to 24 years ago. However, Ohio law has no statute of limitations for sexual offenses involving children under the age of 13, which means the case could continue for a significant period of time. Perhaps the most troubling aspect of this case, however, is the response from Tom Kesey's parents, Gary and Drenda Kesey. Despite the mounting evidence and the testimony of multiple victims, the Keseys have remained in denial. Repeatedly, they have stated that there are two sides to the story, a stance that is deeply concerning given the number of witnesses interviewed and the shared allegations from victims within their own church community. This ongoing refusal to accept the severity of the charges raises questions about their priorities. Instead of acknowledging the gravity of the situation, Gary and Drenda Kesey seem to be focusing on protecting their family's reputation. This response is particularly troubling, given that their son's alleged victims were members of their own congregation, children who were entrusted to the church for spiritual guidance and support. Despite the charges against their son and the undeniable connection to the Faith Life Church community, Gary and Drenda Kesey have made it clear that they intend to continue in leadership at the megachurch they run. They also plan to maintain their television program, which airs on Daystar TV. This decision is bound to spark a great deal of controversy, as it appears that they are prioritizing their own interests over the needs of the victims. In the face of such serious allegations, many would expect church leaders to step down temporarily, or at the very least, publicly acknowledge the harm caused. Instead, the Keseys appear to be doubling down on their leadership role, despite the ongoing investigation into their son. This situation raises significant questions about leadership accountability, particularly within religious organizations. When children in the church community are allegedly victimized by a leader's own family member, even if not on church property, one would expect church leaders to take a step back, create space for healing, and show empathy toward the victims. Instead, the Keseys' decision to continue their leadership roles at the church suggests that they are placing their own family loyalty above the concerns of those harmed by the allegations. These new developments offer several key takeaways. First, the timeline of the abuse now spans nearly a decade, as opposed to the isolated incidents initially claimed by the church. This significantly alters the understanding of the case, moving it from being about isolated, sporadic occurrences to a troubling pattern of behavior that lasted for years. Second, the connection to Faith Life Church is far stronger than previously acknowledged. While the abuse may not have occurred directly on church property, all victims were members of the church, making the church itself an integral part of the environment that allowed the abuse to continue unchecked. Third, the response from Gary and Drenda Kesey raises serious concerns about their leadership. By minimizing or outright denying the gravity of the allegations against their son, they are showing a troubling prioritization of family reputation over the welfare of the victims. Fourth, the extensive list of witnesses, around 40 individuals across multiple states, raises important questions about the potential for earlier warning signs regarding Tom Kesey's behavior. Were there concerns raised earlier that went unaddressed? Did church leadership ignore red flags that might have prevented further harm? Finally, the fact that Tom Kesey was a minor during some of the alleged incidents introduces complex questions about adolescent behavior, supervision, and accountability. If early warning signs were present, why were they not acted upon? These aspects will likely be central to the investigation as the case proceeds. Several critical questions remain unanswered as the case unfolds. Why did it take until 2025 for criminal charges to be filed if the abuse allegedly began in 2001? What, if anything, did church leadership know about these allegations prior to the formal investigation? Will Faith Life Church commission an independent investigation into the matter to determine whether there might be additional victims or whether any church policies contributed to an environment where abuse could go unreported? And how will the congregation respond to Gary and Drenda Kesey's decision to remain in leadership positions while seemingly minimizing or challenging the allegations against their son? These questions are all critical in understanding the larger implications of this case. What is clear is that this situation has now become a crisis, not just for the Kesey family, but for the entire Faith Life Church community. The allegations are grave, and the fallout from this case will likely be felt for years to come, both within the church and in the broader public. As difficult as these discussions are, they serve as an important reminder of the need to create truly safe environments for children in all settings, including religious ones. In situations like this, it's vital to ensure that no one, regardless of their family connections or prominent status, is above accountability. The Tom Kesey case has already caused significant harm, and it has sparked a wider conversation about how we protect the vulnerable and hold powerful individuals to account. As this case continues to develop, I am committed to bringing you thoughtful analysis and updates as new information emerges. If you have direct knowledge relevant to this case, I encourage you to reach out to the appropriate authorities. For everyone watching, this case reminds us to reflect on how we can better protect those who are vulnerable in our own communities and how we respond when allegations emerge against prominent individuals. If this video has helped you better understand this complex situation, please like, subscribe, and share it with others.